Добрый день.
Good afternoon, dear participants of our roundtable. Let's start.
Просьба спикерам занять места.
I would like to ask the speakers to take their seats.
На совещании
Igor Rodin is now having his meeting. He'll come a bit later. We'll wait him a bit. Who else? Ina Iksanova is already here. She would come in several minutes. So
в принципе время как бы обозначено.
we have our defined timing, so we could start.
Ну, наше мероприятие
Our event has a lot of speakers.
стоит.
We have the program, so if you need the information, we could also repeat it. The participants of our round table, all the construction companies, also participants of SRO. We also wanted to invite state clients. We'll also introduce our guests. We have a live broadcast of our roundtable. 20 minutes ago, there were more than 100 people online, online viewers. Maybe somebody would join us during this session, as we have quite up-to-date and acute topics to discuss. So we are very glad that you find time to join us. As I mentioned before, the work of our round table will be also supported by Igor Rodin, Acting Minister of Construction and Architecture of the Republic of Bashkortostan, Pavel Malakhov, Head of НОСТРОЙ Department of Price Formation in Construction, also Sergei Afanasyev, Deputy Chair of the Committee for Competition Policy of the Republic of Bashkortostan, Bulat Yakubov. He is now on his business trip. He is an acting head of the Directorate of the State Expertise in the Republic of Bashkortostan. So we also have Iksanova Inna, the head of the capital construction in the Republic of Bashkortostan. We have also invited Daniil Mustafin, the head of НОСТРОЙ company, and also Viktor Vasilyev, the member of НОСТРОЙ Committee for the Development of the Construction Industry and the Contract System. Dear participants, let's start our dialogue and discussion. We hope that it would be open, bilateral, so you can ask questions. The timing is an hour and a half. I hope that we'll meet the deadline, the minutes. Among the speakers, the time of speech is already announced, so please stick to the timing and try to meet it. But if we'll have spare time, you'll have an opportunity to ask and answer the questions we have. Assistants here, you need to introduce yourself and name the company you're working for. What else I should mention? As for Igor Rodin, I think he'll have his speech a bit later. Concerning our question and discussing our topic, I would like briefly mention what motivated us to choose this topic. The representatives of our Ministry of Construction are also here. The Department on the Formation of Prices.
за
If they have any questions, you could also ask.
году, как говорится,
In 2021, you know that there was a significant growth of prices for building materials. Of course, it made a lot of new circumstances which we have to overcome. According to the Federal Law 45, on behalf of the authorities, we have the
08
government provision 1315, according to which the
порядок определения
client could change the pricing of the contract.
500 тоже прекрасно знаете. Ну,
Maybe you also know the law 500 and also a lot of normative documents,
148
the governmental provision of
знаете.
406.
Следовательно, сидеть
I don't-
после
So stopping on the pricing,
соглашенной
I think that it would be better presented by our speakers.
коллегами
According to the regional colleagues, for example, from Samara region, we have the information work right now on the reorganization of the already signed contracts. But sometimes we understand that it's impossible to implement this
Ну,
adjustments just because we have the limit of our clients. Right now in the Republic we have 4 self-regulated companies. And our retranslation is also spread on the Volga region. We have in total 33 self-regulated companies. So this question was discussed
предприятие
in
пересмотру.
Volga region too.
Ну, естественно, мы тоже как бы ведем эту работу. Но
Of course, we also implement this work. So that construction companies who reached the change of the pricing before signing the additional documentation, they have spent quite a lot of time to fulfill it. For at least 3-4 months right now is an average term.
цены контракта в особенности
On behalf of the client, the casualties are connected with absence of limits,
в том числе
and it could harm to the implementation of the contract on construction. The client should understand that the federal
федерации постановление вот это 13
entities,
меры
they had to make this governmental provision in order to
сказать гибкость.
safeguard the
Поэтому на примере
construction industry. That's why,
или
as an example, on the federal level,
механизм как
why couldn't we apply this mechanism?
помощь строительных
Just because we cannot provide the
социальных объектов республики
on-time
попасть
assistance to the industry.
на
Right now,
вы
to get the
так-то
municipal order, it's not that easy. I could provide you some numbers, some figures. We're a self-regulated organization here. We have 4 in Bashkortostan. We unify 2,300 construction organizations.
Петербург 3,5 тысяч
We had 3,500
питерских
organizations of 3,500 organizations the previous year.
вернулись
Right now we have a regional principle.
тут.
Some of us stayed and some decided to leave. So right now we have 2,200.
Им право участвовать
Only 1,000 could participate in
в 2,5 тысяч строительных
trade.
которые участвуют в муниципальных торгах.
The previous year there were more, right now less. So nowadays,
Организации
self-regulated companies in Bashkortostan, there are only
половина имеет право
630. Only half of them could take part in
на сегодняшний день фактически действует порядка
municipal
контракта. Там действует из 1000
bargaining.
строительных организаций на сегодняшний день вот, в республике Казахстан. Ну, скорее всего,
Only half from 1,000 companies could have state municipal contracts.
федерация.
And they're working around Russia. That's why the
строительных, которые
amount of construction organizations were reduced
3,5 тысяч,
for quite a big amount.
и 500
500
людей,
have 500
людей.
have this opportunity.
Вот цифра, она как бы еще уменьшается.
So the number is reducing still.
Если
How could we assist the construction organization and construction industry which have municipal bargaining?
участвовать. Поэтому первое это обращение к государственным
So first of all, we should
вот
address
необходимым
the state clients. In the framework of our roundtable, we wanted to work with the practice of
об изменении
additional agreement on changing the price of the contract according 1315 governmental provision.
всей ситуации. Ну, как вы знаете, вот 13-15 на сегодняшний день он действует.
As you know, 1315 will operate until the end of 2022.
Не поможет на сегодняшний день
So if we want to assist our
в организации
construction companies,
в ближайшие годы. Там
so
будет
the upcoming years it will be quite difficult to build
там,
social objects not only in the Republic of Bashkortostan but also in other places. As for
я
capital repairs,
такая как бы
I would briefly mention that we have quite
ситуация.
complicated situation just because the value of major repairs 4 or 5 billion rubles for the Republic of Bashkortostan annually. When they had a reformation fund,
Где-то порядка 300
there were 300 construction organizations who could operate on the
на это
order 615. Right now, we have only 15-20 companies involved. It is connected with increase of the amount of
как бы прописано там.
objects
Поэтому тоже там ситуация так
provided by the regional fund.
хорошая.
So right now the situation is quite shaky. Of course, our clients want to have a trustful stakeholder, but that's the image what we have nowadays.
Наверное,
So maybe Yegor Rodin will add when he come. So let's start our event and we'll have our first report. We have invited Pavel Malakov.
приезжал по вопросам ценообразования и
He usually attends such events where where he has an opportunity to tell about the price formation here in the Russian Federation, in Volga region, also in the Republic of Bashkortostan, and will
усилит, помочь
also
сохранить
present what we should preserve, how we should operate, and the
которые заплатили.
conditions which we have, and how to build the social objects the current year.
Спасибо за приглашение
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to come to Ufa
в землю.
once again.
Радует
The weather is fantastic,
погода отвратительная.
especially in comparison with our Moscow weather.
За это вам огромное
And you still have summer going on here, so thank you for that
говорить.
on my behalf. If we speak about the problems for which we gathered together,
Нормативных актов. Я
1315 and other regulations, I would like to
акты, которые
give all the
в рамках
acts, legal acts that were issued
возможности пересмотра
on one side so that we can use for reconsideration of the price of the contract.
является постановление правительства.
Of course, the first and the basic is the decree of the government 1315.
У нас вот
There were some amendments.
года, потом у нас снималось ограничение
Then we had
в 30%
amendments concerning the
сумма
time, sum of contract.
контракта изначальных было на
Initially, it was the sum of money was 100 million. Right now, it's 1 million. So it's a big victory for the construction complex
страны.
in struggling with financial block of the country. We understand that it's literally sitting on money, limiting the access to this wallet.
Тенденции у них есть посылки.
Probably they have their own tendencies, their grounds for that, but the major message
И здесь,
that we were
наверное, надо отдать
transmitting
которым удалось
and we managed to break the situation.
возможность, впервые такая возможность
For the first time, we had this opportunity when
снять.
we can change the price of contract and change it proportionally. It's a discussional question whether this mechanism works or not.
Мы сможем
I will show you the figures and we can discuss, but from the point of view of
обсуждать
supporting measures, it's very good, rather good.
об уровне федерации.
If we speak about the federal level, we see the problem of implementation of this decree in regions. The problem is that many customers don't, without understanding the possibilities of this mechanism,
Отказывали за
reject on formal
не давая
grounds without giving any
счет или просто
law of attorney or
нету.
saying that they don't have any limits,
Давай придумаем.
we don't have money, we need to finish.
Механизмы.
So let's think of something, and I suggest not think of this something,
Потому что пройдет и будут соответственно,
especially concerning some volumes of work, because there will be later
будут
there will be checks,
подрядчики.
and the customers will forget about it or will be responsible together with the
И в данном
contractor. So in this case,
в том, что денег нету.
the
Ждите
the phrase of the customer, we don't have money, it's incorrect. The federal money were given so that to give regions to compensate the
имеется на контракт
changes of price in the contract.
рублей.
Initially it was 80 billion,
Порядка
right now it's doubled, it's around 154 billion rubles.
остаются регионы.
The money spent by the regions not very actively,
Сказал, что
so that's why we have a problem here.
территория регионов это как
With the regions, it's maybe because they're just lazy. I'm sorry for being very direct.
она существует.
There is a procedure, or because of not understanding, and for this reason we do this
А если у вас есть
work, educational work. So if you have examples when you are rejected, please address to us. We will help you, so to say, manually. So
при капитальном ремонте многоквартир
we can change the price of contract in
большой
repairment of block of flats.
по постановлению нет.
The problem here lies in the fact that we have the decree, but we don't have methodology. And
Строй изменения 841, то в капитальном ремонте
so if we speak about capital repairment, the lack of methodology gives
региональному оператору
fear for the customer or regional operator, meaning that I am under supervision of prosecutors general, and how can I change the price of contract? Then I will be accused of kind of a
поменять
gray scheme with you. So in order to change the situation, we developed and approved the methodology connected with the change of contract for capital repairment. It has it is a kind of a recommendation, and it is connected with the fact not to interfere with the authority of the regions. Well, local regional authorities had all the instruments to implement this practice, but
между курирующим министерством и региональным оператором тоже
the practice showed that they were like struggling between different subjects, and nobody wanted to take responsibility for that. So we took a very brave direction. We published this methodology,
неделя должны
and this year it must be
все субъекты российской
sent to
с рекомендацией.
from МИНСТРОЙ with recommendations to all the subjects of the Russian Federations. I will not speak about the roads.
Они
They are leaders of using this mechanism. If we speak about the figures, on this slide you can see information on state contracts. Today, НОСТРОЙ
мониторинг как
monitors how the implementation of the Decree 1315 is implemented. We created the system of traffic lights,
три цвета, ни одного
and on a traffic light there are 3 colors, not even green. I cannot say that there are leader regions
параметром,
that correspond the parameters that we created for ourselves, and the major parameter is the relations of second agreement and additional agreements on the price of contract with the volume of implemented
это
in regions.
100 миллионов рублей, собственно говоря.
So you have
Вы их также можете посмотреть.
all the data is taken from open sources. We monitor by objects,
Членам собрания
and
обратно.
I'm very grateful to members of self-regulating organizations on the information, how it goes with them. If we speak about Bashkortostan, we have 169 contracts that can be amended under the Decree 1315. Only 19 went to the second expertise conclusion, and only six contracts got additional agreements to the contract. So the contractor got this money. You know for sure these people, but these figures are positive, but they don't meet the 50% requirement. But anyway, it proves that the mechanism is working. And my dream is that this mechanism would be used by everyone, not by the chosen ones. So if you are rejected because of the lack of limits, please tell us. Maybe not in the audience. You can call me. The decree was issued in order to avoid the timing breaking of contracts and to save the construction business. Yes, we see the tendency for the decrease in price of resources. Yes, the price for construction materials is going down. But what I would like to say, it's highly unlikely that this mechanism will be next year. So I would like to draw your attention on the price that the customer gives on offers. Don't take everything, because the bad work can lead to the death of the contractor. Unfortunately, not everyone uses this mechanism to reconsider this contract before the expertise. There is such a right given by the МИНСТРОЙ of Russia. And we have this practice, and the customer is too lazy to reconsider the price. And you do understand that the indexes are calculated according to prices of the last quarter of the year. If the contract was sustained for 6 or 9 months, so it will be 20-30% from the real price of the contract. And then we start inventing something and going to the customer. Let's agree to something, how to save the contract. I cannot buy this resource or that resource because the price has changed. So I can say you that next year there won't be this mechanism. It is connected not with the drop in price of resources, but also with inactive work of addressees for the federal money for support. And it's one of the arguments for Minfin. If you don't use this mechanism, they say everything is fine with you. How can you cope with this volume without reconsidering the price of contract? If we look at the official statistics of МИНСТРОЙ, of this gradation of indexes that we have each quarter of year, 30%, it's the average growth of index only for 21st year, officially that we have, according to MINSTROЙ index. And then the question, how can you fulfill the contract without reconsidering the price of contract? Is it so fat? It's not 5 or 7% of income, it's all 40%. So I think it's not really a nice moment, so I would be very careful here. Concerning the limits, here we have numbers, how much money is given to each region. So it's the money that were given for reconsidering the price of contract and giving the limits. Unfortunately, the procedure is very long, and it may be simple, but we need the regional customer, address the chief control, and then to Ministry of Finance, and then they make the document to give the money. So it sounds simple, but sometimes it takes 8 months or even more. On the slide you can see examples of contracts that are really implemented on the territory of Volga region, and I must unfortunately say that even the contracts that got the second expertise not always get into the register for the additional finances. Sometimes the contractor is too shy to address. Let's take any example. Let's take Perm region.
22 года.
The second expertise got in April. They still don't have additional agreement. The question, what is going on? Why you don't have the additional agreement? You got the expertise.
Вы не
Do you have problems?
или
Have you addressed, or you addressed and you were rejected? So of course we need to solve this question, and we're doing this job.
все такие
All this, and I would repeat myself, if you have any problems of this kind, please address to me. So let's speak about the good part. Now, 1st of January 2023, we expect the reform
дали переход
that we
ресурсный индекс
waited for a long time, the transition to resource index method.
не будет.
There won't be any other shifts, and on the 1st of January 2023, we will make a brave step into bright future
Метод
and to the new methodology.
утвержден как раз вице-премьером, и мы
The plan that you see on the slide was approved by Vice Premier.
метода. Сегодня
So today we work in basis index methodology,
работные цены
and it's not very good because it's lacking the changes of price. It's not detailed.
ну вот яркий пример всегда привожу на
I give vivid example on the capital repayment of block of flats. Because of the changes or difference of indexes of panel and brick houses,
тем же составом работ с одним
the capital repayment of roof with the same volume of work
процентом.
varies with a 15% difference. And so we have the question, what is going on? And when the customer will bargain, he will say, on what basis? You can see that the same roof in the neighboring house costs much more
Та самая
than in this house, and this lack of basis methodology,
достоинство
yeah, we live with it. Yeah, it has its advantages, but I believe,
прикидкам
and according to my opinion,
переход на ресурсный индекс метод
this transfer to
прирост
resource index method must give the increase in price up to 10 to 15%, depending on the object, especially we have a lot of labor work and human resources for capital repayment.
сметную базу, я думаю, что не буду сейчас
So I don't speak about that right now.
прошу
With the chief
сегодня проводится
controller webpage, you can find it.
изменение номенклатуры ресурсов, изменения в
All the changes in legal documentations,
новых сметных
the changes for new norms and reconstruction of norms. This job is carried out,
здесь лидирующих
and the leading part here is with the lead STROY expertise.
ни одного обращения
From Volga region, there were no any single address
и вдруг
to reconsider the norm. So if you see that some norm don't correspond to reality, so please feel free to address.
про преимущества перехода
For advantages of
в принципе я
the resource index method, I have two. It's the possibility to affect the price. We have a good tool,
региональный уровень
and it's more regional, and it's not concentrated in Moscow. And the second is the increase of the
вот нам
truthness of price.
сколько она стоит. Не должно быть занижения, завышения
So I think that it must cost as much as it should cost.
в методе, то
There shouldn't be any decrease in price or something else.
система
So if we speak about resource index method,
настроения
so GISTS plays a very important part here.
в течение 3
Within 3
страна должна
quarters of the country must transfer to resource index method.
вот останется
For some it will be more basis, for some it will be more resource.
система в ГИСЦ
If the region is not ready,
проводится мониторинг
because of the bad monitoring for indexes
реалий.
and doesn't correspond to realia and possibility to form indexes,
Конечно же,
in this case there would be lacking and drop in price. So please, colleagues,
вот, чтобы
get involved into this job to help the regional center, to regional МИНСТРОЙ,
огромный ответ
because the huge responsibility lies on these organizations.
пропущу
I will skip that.
наполнение в ГИСЦ по федеральным округам.
The dynamics of GIFTS
Сказать
on the regions, it's very bad.
количеством юридических лиц, передающих информацию в сеть.
So it based on, in many cases, it's based on the number of legal entities that send the information to the system, and when you get connected with the regions, they say everything is fine. That's the blue column. But nobody looks at what position of price-forming resources they cover, and it's the red column you can see on the slide. But it's not a positive picture, really, and it should be tuned up a bit. And the huge role is on us, I believe, on constructors and on self-regulating organizations. According to our initiative, there were amendments in the decree of the government, and today, from the 1st of September, the mechanism is implemented for the system of transferring information not only by the customer and the client, but also by the regional authorities. It is made to eliminate this gap between parties. In this connection, I'm asking you and self-regulating organizations the price that you buy construction resources can be sent to information system, and then it would provide the cost of the price will be close to what you paid for it. If you don't do that, there will still be a gap. And it's a good system of managing the price. It won't be a wholesale price of the supplier with all the possible discounts, because it turns out that I had remains on the warehouse, and I needed to get rid of it. So that's why I sold it for 50 with the 50% discount. But in fact, you cannot buy it for this price. So in order to avoid this disbalance, so you should send this information. You cannot do it yourself, but if you have a legal entity inside your company, this company can send this information, and it doesn't really affect that it's a branch, but according to formal requirements, it corresponds to all the criteria with the supply of construction materials. If you don't have this company, there's self-regulating organization, so please address to it, and here we need the cooperation of SRO that would use the personal account to transfer information about the price of resource. If we speak about detalization of the region on the regions, we can find Republic of Bashkortostan here. It's very good number, 85% on legal entities. It's very good, but the bad figure, it's 9.5%. We need to increase it and increase it in real life. I very often hear that I'm accused of being popularizing this work. To work with federal state information system. We are not state authority. We are just a lobbying organization. Over the 6 years, we have done nothing to feel. What do you want? How do you want to work it? And it's not this way. We had a pilot with one of the regions of the country, Ivanovo region. It came as everyone else to the beginning of the pilot with the same figures, and within 1 quarter, thanks to good work of local authorities, self-regulate organizations with our participation, the region went to 97%, and this figure is sustained over the last 2 quarters. If everything goes as it is planned, we have a plan to transfer Ivanovo region for resource index method before time, and according to our calculations, the increase will be around 15%. Why did they do that? Because on the one hand, when we speak about the increase in price, there would be additional load on financial system of the country. But here we have another question. Please look at the number of lots that didn't play from the first time. When the regional authority has to call for the customer, for the contractor, and invite to fulfill this or that contract,
вообще больше ничего.
and even by threatening that if you don't fulfill this volume, you won't work in the region. So in order to avoid it, so that the contract would cost the actual price, we need to work with this way. So please don't close up, because information from you really depends on the final price. I will give example on salary. So each year the salary is set, the first category. Well, it's nice to think that some companies still retain the system of categorizing the workers. So we consider it as first category. This is the classical example.
Сегодня эта зарплата утверждается на основании статистических данных.
So today the salary is set according to statistic data and a number of other parameters. And when I talk to them, please give me the list, where did you get this figure?
Реальная зарплата, которую вы платите, порядка 20%.
So in our understanding, the salary is lacking 20%, and of course it affects the final price.
Не надо закрывать.
Don't close up. The pilots that we had in different regions, they were frightened at the beginning. It was Kuzbas and Novosibirsk region. They were saying, what kind of salary? I don't have everything intact there. Then you would give it to tax agencies. I don't want to participate in that. So I can assure you that after the first year of conducting this work in these two subjects, the constructors next year voluntary ask this question. So first of all, it's depersonalized, then it's really used for calculating the salary. Don't close up. If SRO addresses to you, believe it will stay on the level of SRO. We need information of what salary is paid in construction society, not to control, but in order to provide the price, the cost for your own benefit. So it's a very non-critical moment. And the last I would like to draw your attention to, that's the price of contract.
Их подрядчикам, кстати, тоже. Связано это с тем, что смета контракта у нас разработана в 2019 году.
So estimated of contract was methodology was developed in 2019. The principle is that estimated cost, as it is,
В классическом нашем варианте, как мы ее привыкли видеть, нужна только для
is necessary only for the calculation cycle. Then we should forget about this essential cost. Getting the final price, we need to
технологического процесса.
Transfer it to the cost of contract without technological process. We see a lot of criminal cases and checks from the controlling supervising bodies. Why did you close the works for land works when you didn't have on the construction site this or that tractor that you had in essential cost? Because in the essential cost we say excavation of the ground with this or that tool, and then we find out we don't have it in essential cost, or there is another machine for that, or it can be done manually. And then we say, why did you do that? Because you didn't have excavator. Cross it out. And many times it happened. In classical variant we must come to the increase of volumes, but the technological process must leave, because we should stop adding the essential costs to the contract. We must use the method, the variant that is described in the present methodology. There were amendments to the town planning code.
Сметных нормативов при исполнении контрактов не допускается. То есть это, что называется, уже для дурачка.
Where it was prohibited to use adding the essential costs,
Еще будет нарушение.
and it would be a violation according to active contracts if they're long-term and not finishing this year. you have to address in written form to the customer
графика производства,
and to sign additional agreement
который предусмотрен на контракт,
according to the stages
ты можешь выполнить
provided by the contract, and that can be fulfilled by the contractor
переводом классическая
with transferring classical essential costs to the
позиция,
cost of contract,
названием,
where we had
наименование продукции,
the name of product
деятельность
and the type of activity.
величин там
There would be just the volumes,
в кубах,
the volume of this soil in cubic meters, and the final price. We shouldn't say the mechanism that we use for that.
контракта. Если мы говорим
If we speak about new contracts, so please pay attention that if you go on a bargain or if you are
о формировании конкурса,
communicating with the customer, so here you need to
приказ.
pay attention to that. Thank you, colleagues.
Спасибо, Павел Васильевич.
Thank you, Pavel. We had reserved for 5 minutes, but we have covered it. So, distinguished guests,
Я говорил, мы идем
we had this reserve for 5 minutes, so we meet the timing. Maybe at the end, if we have spare time, you could ask questions to all the speakers which we have. And we have the second speaker for today, Sergey Afanasyev. I would like to give the floor to him, and
вообще
we want to tell
Госкомитет по закупкам.
that the State Committee on Purchases
Что в свете вот
is managing,
каких
is operating in the basis of the Republic of Bashkortostan. Which
перспектив
laws do we have? What are the prospects on participation
организации
of the construction companies and municipal trades and bargaining? Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Could you please show my presentation?
Так, ну,
So here we will talk not only about the changes of prices according to 1315, but also the opportunities to change the conditions of the contracts. What are the significant conditions you could see in the clause 435 of the State Code of the Republic of the Russian Federation? These are the conditions on which both sides should find the agreement. The changes of the significant conditions are fixed in the Law 44, and the main
ну, на
legal instruments. I will not stop on the first point
5, 9%, которые сейчас
of paragraph 1.3, part 1, clause 94.
возникновение действующих сторон
If there are any circumstances which are out of control of both sides on the current contract, you could use the paragraph 8, part 1, clause 40 of clause 95 of the federal law. As you know, right now we have signed the governmental provision of 1315, and right now we have a local provision 486, according to which the changes in the contract could be made
должен быть 31 декабря 2022 года.
if the contract was signed before the 1st of January of 2023.
Организационно-технические
It should be within the limits, and also technical regiments should not change.
изменения
If there are significant adjustments
основания вступивших
while they have signing of agreement after the application in the written form
стоимость строительства
due to the increase in price of the construction resources, there is a need
и если это терзакат
the
уточненные сведения по дополнительным
client should provide the information about the additional assignments, then the Ministry of Transport
так,
provided into technical order. We need to note that the fourth note of the fourth clause of the provision 486, they have similar agreement to write
можно работать
some kind of manual rules and use this mechanism on the level of municipal contracts. For them.
так в 2000
In 2022, for the paragraph 11 point, part 1, clause 18,
предметом которых является выполнение
which have as a subject the
капитального ремонта, сносу объектов,
construction works, also construction, reconstruction, major repairs, demolishing of capital construction objects, and preserving of the cultural heritage objects.
что
It was accepted governmental provision,
не зависящие от статуса
which has the right to state the order
исполнения
and the cases of price and conditions changing.
в 2000
It could be put into operation only since 2022, not in 2023, but it could be applied within the limit of the budget and science. It is available to update the existing contract terms, including the increase in price up to 30%. It could be changed
смотрите,
and the construction resources needed, and also make this increase.
далее,
Further,
так, в четвертом, это соответствие
for the fourth point, in accordance with the Federal Law 46, Article 112, also adding 65.1, the conditions of the contract could be changed if they were signed before the 1st of January 2023, or if there are independent from the both sides
высшего исполнительного государства,
cases where made this contract unable to fulfill. They should also follow the points of the part 1.3.6 of the Federal Law number 44.
условия, контракт заключен 1 января 2023 года,
So the contract should be
обстоятельства,
signed before the 1st of January 2023. They could change the price within the limit,
и
and if the changes call for the new responsibilities and the changes in the purchase, they needed to fulfill the contract.
Российской Федерации
So
и местных администраций
they should be applied on the level of the municipal authorities, also the Republic of Bashkortostan and the government of the Republic, and the government of the Russian Federation. On the basis of our republic, we have the provision number 486. So our regional clients could change the significant conditions of the contract. In terms of agreement,
государственных заказчиков,
it's available for state clients.
предприятия, алгоритм, мы его тоже, как он есть постановление,
You could see the algorithm over here, the actions of supplier, client, and chief controller.
изменение условий же в
The change of terms of agreement
соответствии распоряжения правительства республики
are based on the
с приложением по синхронизации
document of the government of the Republic of Bashkortostan, which should be attached. You could see the attached
самоуправления.
documents on the slide. We also advise to apply such
В принципе, расписано.
norms, normative acts, where you'll have the order
И уже будет
and the rules of implementation of the changes, and to make a decision on municipal level.
Спасибо, Сергей Викторович.
Thank you, Sergey.
Уж, я уже говорил,
As I mentioned before,
хотели, чтобы мы
we wanted our municipal clients
участвовали в нашем
to participate on our event. I would like to stop here. You know that on the territory of the Russian Federation, especially here in the Republic of Bashkortostan, we are implementing the program on major repairs of schools and different educational institutions. Right now, we have a lot of questions
такого характера. Потом
of this type.
мероприятия,
So,
как бы,
within this event, you heard and saw what we have all the foundations for the municipalities to use 1315 governmental provision and help the construction organization. Thank you, Sergey,
нам слайды и прочее все оставить.
I hope that you'll provide us with slides and we will place it in our website. We could go further.
Это у нас в республике, вот знаете,
Here in the Republic of Bashkortostan, you know,
очень крупные.
what we built a lot of social objects which are quite huge, and the contracts here are more than,
Конечно, пригласить.
or the cost of these contracts are more than 100 million. Of course, we have decided to
Поэтому вот вместо
invite Bulat Yakupov, but they will listen to Ekaterina Andreevna.
наверное, вступала
She has already taken the floor several times.
к фону,
Could you please
ну, по времени,
take the floor? You have 10 minutes.
как бы уложить. Пожалуйста.
I hope you'll meet the timeline.
Добрый день, уважаемые.
Good afternoon, distinguished participants and colleagues. We would like to talk
Это
about.
пониже. Вот. Спасибо.
Так, слышно хорошо?
Could you hear?
Да, на сегодняшний день
Nowadays,
немножко спала
we have
находится информация к нам.
different information with Pavel. We have a repetitive check
4
13, 15 governmental provision, 45 objects
в работе
which were
5 объектов.
accepted, 34 of which were accepted and 10 were still checking.
Основные условия для
The basic
таких основных
conditions to have our expertise, you need to have an acting contract over 100 million rubles. Yeah.
сказать, существенно
The contractor also need to confirm the significant
741
increase in price. It is written in the Methodics 41
я думаю,
with the changes on the law 500. I think that you have already studied it.
за это
I wanted to mention the main mistakes
посмотрировщики, подрядчики
of the project managers, clients, and also contractors. Some of them believe that recounting as the uses of new indices,
То есть, если это
but it's not true. If it's just recounting,
заключение контракта
it should be made before signing the agreement
5
of the contract
управления 45
on the provision
то есть
4513. They are quite different,
заходит
totally different.
на экспертизу
If you have a repetitive expertise
обязательно
of the 40
быть существенно
of the law 45, you need to have an acting
размещен на
contract.
сцене.
The example is presented at Federal State Information System website.
Совершенно разные пункты повторно.
They're totally different points of the repetitive state expertise.
Необходимо обязательно
You need to follow and study
пить к выполнению пересчета
the manual before you do the recounting.
841
You should study
с изменениями по 500 приказу.
the law
15
841,
13
also provision 1315,
постановление
1344. It's a new one.
пункт
It cancelled the
пункт А
paragraph
525 постановление
of the provision 680, and also the significant adjustments could be connected with the increase in price for the construction
по решению заказчика.
materials, but it's also in accordance with the client's needs.
Ну, расчеты, расчеты, да, стоимость
All the figures of the contract
процентов очень подробно описаны.
for less than 30%
14
are written in detail
3
from
где так
paragraph 14.3,
более 100
and for more than 100 million rubles,
четко более 30
at similar more than 30 million.
Я
You can see all the formulas.
с ними ознакомились.
I think most of us are acquainted of them
В общем,
already.
что хотите сказать?
That's all that I wanted to mention. If you have any questions, I would be glad to answer.
Екатерина,
Thank you, Ekaterina Andreevna.
пожалуйста, еще появился.
У меня
Pavel, please.
44.
Could you please share the list 44.
Ну, давайте я уже сказал, вопросы позже, наверное,
Also questions, I think which we'll do it at the end of the session.
самым крупным
Nowadays, one of the biggest client right now is our major repairs
надеемся, будут работать.
companies.
Пожалуйста, вам
So, Inna Igorevna, could you please take the floor? What is the situation?
со стороны
What on behalf of the main
э,
client on the implementation of this provision is undertaken right now? I haven't got that much time, and everyone knows that we'll have no time the next year. Dear colleagues,
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Can I have the slides? I would like to thank you for the organization of this conference, because I can see our contractors here, state expertise, and other customers. Today we do have questions to the legislator, to the Federal Ministry of Construction, and nobody feels shy to ask these questions. We do get responses, but we can say about the practice of implementation, but let's say that on the 9th of August 2021, Mishustin approved the decree of Russian Federation 1315 on amending to acts of the Russian Federation. So the document sets the possibility of municipal customers to change the contract, including the price of contract. That can help to avoid bankruptcy of companies and many other negative factors. So you need to keep to some conditions for contracts that have more than 100 million rubles. There is necessity for second expertise, state expertise. The changes of contract will be made on the signing the additional agreement to the contract. Besides, according to contractor, the calculation is very important that is sent to the client, and we have several calculations. On the slide you can see the algorithm for 30 million, from 30 million to 100 million, and from 100 million and more. So the first algorithm for the contracts up to 30 million rubles. So the calculations can be made grounding on the increase of the price and equipment that hasn't been done by the contractor, but that are necessary for the fulfillment of the contract. So this method allows to set the difference of price. The second algorithm for contracts from 30 to 100 millions, that the calculations is used the index of the contract that is sent by MINSTROЙ of Russia. This algorithm allows to define the price of contract, and the longest and the hard calculation is for contracts from 100 million rubles and higher. For us as a state customer, is the third third algorithm, and that presumes the additional check by the state expertise authorities. So on this slide we presented the algorithm of interreaction according to this 1315 decree that concerns the work of the state customer with contractors. As it was mentioned before, we don't have opportunity of signing additional agreement without the presence of limits in budget obligations. Right now, with our chief controller, we have sums that were made according to our offers, and these figures were defined and approved by different ministries of education, healthcare, and they will be given to the Ministry of Construction. Then we will have federal agreements with the Republic of Bashkortostan. Then these limits would be given to the state customer. Only after that we will be able to sign additional agreement with the contractor on active contracts. And according to what the colleagues said, when you get the state expertise can be not stopped, everything can be worked out, and we are open, and we don't reject the applications on not significant reasons. So we don't have our work stopped. We're working on rejects for signing additional agreements. We can say that from our side, we have only one contract that got the limits of state obligations, and there is a state expertise calculation. The additional agreement is not signed yet, and within coming time, in September or October, I believe it will be signed, and the contractor would get the sums of money that he calculated according to state expertise and methodology 1315 didn't get, because we have this situation on the market with the significant increase in construction material price. According to other contracts where we had the state expertise and the calculations are sent to chief controller, and we're planning to make the limits for Ministry of Education, and additional agreement will be signed within 1 month, I believe. Next, I would like to say about the decree of the government of Russian Federation 680 on the changes of essential conditions of the contract. Today we're planning signing one decree of the Republican government, and this methodology allows to set that when you have changes in the price on the contracts, on the state contracts, you have conditions that prevent from fulfillment of the contract, it can be, the essential provisions of the contract can be changed. So it's prolongation of contract,
которого соответствует положению федерального закона 44 ФЗ ранее не изменялся, то есть
if the term of the contract haven't been changed, so here without the decree of the government we can sign additional agreement with the contractor. Changes in the types of the equipment used, change of the construction resources that were enlisted into the project documentation. With this third thesis we use it because there are a lot of limitation in supply and the application of the construction materials that were initially set in the project documentation. Changes in certain stages of fulfillment of a contract and changes for the prepayment. We also use this point from the beginning of this year in the contract where that didn't provide the prepayment. We provided the prepayment in accordance with the Federal Monetary Fund, and it's not a secret that the decree of the Russian Federation obliged including prepayment into the contract. Changes on the price of contract on certain types of works due to the increase of construction materials, dated from the 9th of August 2021, number 1315. And the Article 2 of point A is not used. I cannot tell you about our region in general, but according to our contractors, the increase in price was about 30%, but it's not proved yet. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Inna Igorevna. We hope that everyone here all the contractors which have
именно построить социальный
any projects on social objects will get the support. And of course, we wanted. I also asked my acquainted directors of self-regulated companies who undergone this
нет, вот, конечно.
procedure, but
Приятно слышать сегодня, да, действительно,
unfortunately they couldn't come. That's nice. We are very glad that from the point of main client, the main customer, we would get the support and who are working right now in the construction sphere, and that objects
достойно завершать, ну,
which are already put into operation would be fulfilled successfully. Okay, let's have questions at the end. Previously, we've talked about municipal customers. Today, we wanted to listen to the representative
вот, заказ,
who previously fulfilled the state order.
в принципе, как можно работать.
Now I would like to give the floor to Daniel Mustafin, the head of НОСТРОЙ company. As it was said before, on the basis of the legal laws on the Republic of Bashkortostan, it is possible to implement this mechanism. Good afternoon, dear participants of the Congress. Our company, НОСТРОЙ in March 2022, have won the prize, the auction for building of a school. After that, we started to purchase the construction materials, which raised their prices from 10 to 300%. We were trying to find new ways to implement the contract or maybe cancel the contract. We learned, we studied the experience of other companies. We were asking whether they have some experience in these situations. We also had consultations with the companies who provide the service on trading. And then we met the opportunity, a kind of document will help us to change the conditions and the terms of the agreement. We conducted talks with our customer and also had the support from the administration, the head of the administration. We also visited the Ministry of Education of the Republic of Bashkortostan together with client. We also took part on meetings and within the construction sites on the major base of school. In order to get the acceptance for changing the terms of our agreement, we've provided all the documentation and created an additional agreement. So we increased the price of the contract with 12.3%. The agreement took 3 months. The supply terms were from 14 days to a month and a half. Some of the positions
Спасибо.
are now cannot be substituted here in Russia.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Daniel. It's quite a broad example right now.
Очень
Thank you. We have a lot of companies which now have municipal contracts, the bulk of them. That's why it's a live experience and live example.
пройти этот
So we could undertake this mechanism and apply it to our contracts. Mostly we have the contracts on the Ministry of Education and on municipal contracts, which were signed by the end of the year. By the 1st of September, some of the contractors have already prepared everything.
посмотреть, поддержать строительный.
So
Так, ну, Василий,
I want to ask to support the contractors. We have
поэтому
one more speaker, Viktor Vasilyev.
на объединение
He's working in the НОСТРОЙ Committee for the Development of the Construction Industry and the Contract System. We have 15 minutes, but if you can meet the timeline for 10 minutes, we'll have 5 minutes for questions. Maybe the organizing committee will give us
Я подождите, мне
more time.
у меня ни презентации, ничего нет,
I would be seated,
давать цифры какие.
so I would not provide you with numbers.
Я думаю, и так.
Mostly as for legal part,
Ну, из своего опыта, из работы,
it was discussed before. I would like you to share the experience of my committee,
которые являются, ну, те проблемы, которые
those problems which
возникают
occur
в сфере. Ну, и
in the sphere of construction. Of course, somebody addresses me directly,
здесь
supporting the sphere. The problem is,
объяснить,
I would like to show this problem a bit broader.
потому что сами понимаете,
It's not only about pricing, as you know, that nowadays we have line of laws
которые
and provisions
участники
where we could join the construction as a contractor. The law 44, the provision 615.
и тех, к участникам
It's also about the
на сегодняшний момент существует.
suggestions
Вопрос,
to the contractors to fulfill.
пожалуйста,
I would like to learn if we have purchasers here,
лесночет.
and the rest are
Вот.
contractors.
Заказчиком кто-то, может кто-то потенциальный заказчик, кто-то может
Maybe somebody would become a
строитель.
prospective purchaser or plan to work in the construction sphere. The situation is, as for pricing, of course, we have some casualties just because we have increase in prices since 2021, and our committee was working 24 hours per day. We had everyday meetings, and here I would like to share that figures.
Стоимость тех
The price of the materials
в расчет.
out of the total estimated cost is not more than 20%. For some objects and some constructions, of course, we have changed the contracts significantly. For some of them, the prices didn't change at all. So if you undertake the risk, being a contractor, to participate in construction, you should do the recounting of the estimated cost. I would like to talk about 3 directions of the conditions which should be provided to the potential contractors, the participators of the contract.
Этом уровне. Как
How the contractor could estimate the real cost of the works. As for trade and purchase procedures, you could send the application and you even have no time to count the risks and all the expenditures of materials. On the other side, we reduce the terms of signing the contract so we could make the terms of fulfillment of the contract bigger. Of course, as for main task, for the contractor, you need to use the budget to do the works and then finish the construction. But
пока
you need to fulfill everything because the result depends on your work. Since 2013, when we have founded the committee, we struggle for the contractor to place the description of the values of purchase and the whole estimated cost documentation. It's just civil code, also urban construction code.
в качестве
So right now, the contractor is obliged to show all and present all the documentation. Right now, we have some adjustments in terms. Right now, we'll take the
там написано, что строительство, как капитального ремонта может вести без...
order, or if we have the clause 45,
Что написано, что результат организует
clause 6, so the contractor who fulfill the construction should do all the major repairs within the project of the technical documentation. If you'd like to have a full value of implemented work,
все описание объекта за-
you should place project documentation too, and also the estimated cost. Turn back to the order
И так до сих пор не поняли суть этой публикации.
841. Not all the contractors fully understand
Поняли?
this order.
Вот хотят. Я
What do they wait from you? I'd like to show the example. When we come to canteen or cafe, we order a meal. It could be soup, second meal, or something to drink. We know the price, but we do not think about the price of ingredients. We need the final product, the end product. And the order
против
846
свод смет.
also tells you the same. Just take the estimated cost, take the documentation, and choose the parts which would be paid partially, step after step.
Есть у нас
We have 4 self-regulated organizations. We have the authorities which could help you.
саму закупку
So it would be easy to organize the purchase
участников закупки.
of the materials and also to attract the participants of this purchase. In 2021, as a result of the increase in price, 60% of all purchases in the construction sphere in Russia were cancelled just because there were no applications. I think that the bulk of blame lays down upon contractors because they didn't provide the real information to their clients.
Хочется
So the prices went
показать в конце концов.
up.
Не значительную часть
Not the significant part of the contract, but only few notes, few lines there. That's the case how we get more job, more work, and also more responsibilities. You have a lot of different departments and also structures in the Republic where you can address, and they'll help you, will assist you how to create the conditions and terms of the agreement in the right way. Of course, estimated cost as a part of the project documentation we need.
Если вдруг что-то увеличится,
If you need to provide it in case you need any adjustments to the terms,
поэтому
especially connected with the pricing of the construction materials. So it all depends on contractor to provide the right information to the potential purchasers, potential clients, to have the full information and estimate if they need and if they want to take part
они уже стоят,
in that contract or not.
как говорится, на торги. Второй
The second thing
момент. Но я
is
правильно перехожу к другому формату.
I also want to show another format. We have 3 main directions. The first price, the description of the
Ну, под
object, and also
экспертиза необходимо.
the cases of the contracts. So as for pricing, it's quite clear within the order 841. It will make your work easier.
Вот наказ. А просто
But if you would violate it, it would be a violation of the whole contract.
вот там
For example, building the foundation or planning of the land, you will not write how many tractors took part there.
мы
If you did the job,
не
you will be paid. If you do not fulfill the job, you'll get no payment.
да,
Simultaneously, I would like to mention that due to the increase in price, we have a lot of cancellation of the contracts just because they need to make a plan, make the project, and after it fulfill the job. We came to the conflict.
то есть закрыть
The
подрядчик не подисполнитель.
between the client and contractor. But here we had an assistant our government. But still, we have the unilateral cancellation of the contracts. For you as a contractor, I would like to say, please do not find it
Заказчик пошел на такое
a tragedy. Even if your client decided unilaterally cancel the contract,
активно подошли к этим вопросам. И
most of the authorities, most of the institutions, they find it adequate. You would not just include it into the register of
практика такая здесь
bad
присутствует.
contractors.
Начальник отдела,
Sometimes, of course, we also have practices like that.
он тоже может какое-то слово здесь высказать. Вот, поэтому в этих случаях
So you have an opportunity to
очень много информации.
get the information.
Хочу перейти к
I also would like to tell about the general notions for the
31 странице.
participants of purchase. We have clause 31. We have also the direction to,
Какие-то
for it. If we organize any contest procedures,
отчет
we also include countings for the construction sphere too. Here we also have some demands which should be fulfilled. So as for the Order 44, we have one kind of the conditions. As for other documents, we have other conditions, but we have different end products. Why do we have different orders and different conditions, different terms?
предел.
For example, in Order 43, I do not find any logic. Just because you are trying to get the
На
presence of specialists, bulldozers, and so on,
контракт.
if you have no contract still, if you haven't signed it. I think what we just didn't place the goal, didn't state the goal, and we plan to make a standard within the National Union of Constructors to unify all the terms. Of course, we have Order 44, but when you work in accordance to the Order 44, remember the clause number 1. It's not only about the Constitution, Civil Code, and also Construction Code. You have other laws which you need to take into account. For us, it's Urban Construction Code. It's also technical regiments and so on, just because you have everything which is put down about what you should do and how you should do. So you have an exact understanding. If you have the changes for more than 10 million rubles, you need to claim for the assistance of the self-regulated organization.
599
Of course,
тысяч. Ну, я думаю, что это не совсем серьезно.
I believe it's not that serious when you change the pricing due to 1 ruble or something. But if you'd like to attract somebody from self-regulated organization, you raise your guarantees in the framework of the construction contractors,
Организация.
just because the responsibility would be on their shoulders.
Ну, вы будете просто руководствоваться тем, что 44 закон, это в рамках...
In other cases, you would only work with the law 44.
Ну, и в завершение, что...
And to sum up what I'd like to say,
Ладно, в завершение, что я хочу сказать. В данной ситуации и
in this case,
практика
concerning the price of the contract and also the description of the object of purchase, we should
вы, естественно,
act not only in accordance with all laws, but also with our mind,
сознательно неправильной документацией,
being sober in this case.
читать законодательство, читать
Read the laws,
четко прописано.
read all the
В дальнейшем
legal literature, legal instruments.
намного проще, чем
It is better to do beforehand when you have to provide the reports. Why you haven't included the SRO participants or any other instruments. Here you have all the structures which could assist, help, and advise you something to reach the goals you have,
освоение бюджета и
to cover all the expenses and to fulfill your contract. Thank you.
Спасибо, Виктор Леонидович.
Thank you, Victor Leonidovich, dear participants of our event today.
Как бы подходит
We are pressed for time, really. Let's put it this way. If you have any questions, please ask them.
микрофон.
The microphone will be given to you, but please
Ясно было.
tell a few words about yourself and do it briefly.
Здравствуйте.
Good afternoon.
Меня зовут Иванова Эльвира.
My name is Ivanova Elvira.
Я вот хотела, наверное,
I would like to address to Pavel Vasilievich how, in fact,
контракт.
the closing of essential cost of contract is done.
Вот мы
So the colleagues
работаем
explained we did the additional agreement. It should be
единично.
closed.
По факту происходит следующее.
In fact, it happens the following way. We make an act of fulfilled jobs according to essential cost, but at the same time, the customer asks for detailization of the works.
Чуточку больше.
So the contractor needs to fill more papers.
Все по локалкам. Вот на самом деле как происходит.
So this is the way how it goes, and we cannot affect
Как я
the customer in any way. And because he says, how can I check the volume?
там
For example, if we lay the cable
согласна,
and we have to detailize it,
делаем так же.
how we do it. So we actually do the same act of fulfilled jobs. So you do it the same with the volume. How he cannot check.
Заставляет нас-
He forces us to
Да, да.
to make a double job. But this is stupidity. What I can say. How can we affect the customer? The object is in Rostov region. So you can share information and with the colleagues in the Ministry of Construction in Rostov region, we can talk about it. But this is incorrect. I do understand that this is a violation of the legislation. It's not really a violation. It's more like stupidity, because give me this, give me that, go there, bring me something I don't even know. Here you have to explain and tell why do you need it, and the same thing the customer must understand, because the extra sheet of paper for him would be found in a very inappropriate moment and will set him up. Well, he doesn't sign this paper, but just in case he would keep it close to essential cost, probably.
Написано, что
Yeah, we signed it with STROY control and then send it to the customer. The next thing,
15
according to 1315, we are on the stage of concluding additional agreement.
работ,
On the rest of works, we will have
коэффициентно.
corrective coefficient,
В данный момент
but
то
currently the situation is that we highlighted additional works that were not in the project documentation.
повторно
And right now, the customer sends us for the second expertise to prove that we missed these
таким образом
jobs. And how can we?
объяснить не может.
Minstroj of Rostov region cannot explain. So after the expertise, how can
Корректировка
the correctional index will be applied to the rest according to the new essential cost? If you have the expertise for the increase, so your additional works, they're not included. So you need to go another time for the expertise and get the conclusion for additional works. So this index can be applied, but take into consideration how much time you would spend to get the expertise and then to sign the agreement. It will take 5 months. Are you ready to wait for 5 months? If it's significant price, it's worth, then of course you will have to go to the expertise. But I would divide this job twice. I would sign the agreement, additional agreement, then would carry out another expertise for additional works, and then after that, after you prove that it's not enough, you would go to the expertise. So it's a means of compensation, as I mentioned in my speech. If you do understand that you don't get to the price, then you can use this tool. Thank you.
Добавлю.
I would add,
Нет, отдайте микрофон.
give the microphone back
Ну вот, который сейчас
to the lady that posed the question.
У меня вопрос. У вас вот
I have a question. This contract is a state contract or municipal contract? It's a municipal contract.
44-го закона.
So you were participating within the framework of 44
Это заявка.
federal law. Yes, the contract we have it for 2 years. We tried to cancel. No, I got it. The question is,
В любом случае,
in any case, the commission, the final result of this procedures is the contract. In the project of the contract, as an
были документы
annex, what papers
образца приема.
did you attach as an example of
Контракт и
its essential cost and local essential cost? So you signed for that, right?
в 2015 году
Yeah, it was back in 2019. So the question is, you signed this contract for this essential cost, because in any case, the final document, you have to keep to the final document.
Этого приказа в 700 в качестве там
If it were according to decree
цены было
741,
и там расписан, допустим,
and you would describe how it was made, then the customer had no right to request. But right now, in this case,
независимо
you guide yourself with the contract,
от вас.
and then the supervisional bodies will be dealing with the customer. Why didn't he get the full essential cost or not full essential cost? But anyway, you have to use a contract, and if
На расчет
as a price there was act of
организации, то вам придется
essential cost, it was signed. So you have to present these papers to each. But we had additional agreement
открываться под
that we will close to
новую смету.
the essential cost, and we created the new essential cost. Essential cost means that everything must be written there.
Составляли как подряд,
We made it ourselves as a contractor.
писали комплексы работ. То есть мы, да, готовы за
We wrote down, detailed everything,
сторонами.
and it's signed by both parties. Yes, yeah, but
Стройк запрашивать эти расшифровки. Так,
the customer sends us to store control. Store control asks for detailing, and we make this double job.
мы не можем
And we cannot affect
просто процентов.
the customer.
Руководство именно
Here you have to use contract and annex to the contract according to which you signed, under which you signed. But if they ask for something extra, then you have to deal with that. But if you write each point,
Каждый пункт.
no, we are covering each point.
Еще, наверное, будут вопросы.
Dear colleagues, maybe there will be other questions. Here we can also comment that the federal structure is store control, and they're also customers together with us on our objects. It's true. I confirm. The contracts with store control, they need to be closed like that. We need detailization of each item, and they need to use forms KS2 without KS3, and this structure is federal. So today, as I understand, according to programs of like clean water, they work in Republic, and all other federal money, all other federal funds will be controlled by store control. I confirm we have the same situation.
Спасибо, что сказали.
Thank you for saying about store control.
В этом вопросе
We'll try to get involved into this question, and as an advice, we
приказ.
have a new
То есть акт
new order by Minfin,
тем самым заказчик начинается с
by electronic or digital informing.
ну, в качестве такой.
So it can be as a means of practical help.
Ну, Павел Васильевич на вооружение взял.
Pavel Vasilievich
Тоже, да, это.
took this question.
Уважаемые коллеги, есть еще вопросы?
Dear colleagues, do you have any other questions?
Good afternoon, distinguished colleagues. Islam Rustem. We are the customers of the Republic of Bashkortostan. We have the question on 13 and 15. Everywhere we have the fact that the contractor should be confirm that expenditures that they have. It's like comparison of the initial price and the final price, and then they make the purchase of the materials, and aftermath, just because we do it beforehand, and aftermath the prices increase, how should they confirm their pricing? As for documents, apart from comparison,
И сейчас нет, там есть форма
the prices, the initial prices and the final prices,
документа.
there are formulas, and also it is possible to confirm this position in accordance with the current monitoring. But I cannot agree that we need to confirm the increase of price. But it is written in the documents 13, 15, and 64. But they should state that the prices increase. They should provide the
Позиции, которые мы по сборнику считаем,
recounting with all the indices and the volume of works. The fact that we had an inflation for more than it was forecasted before, just because we didn't meet the deflator of the economy as we
факт удорожания. И
saw the increase beforehand, and in fact we have it bigger. On the websites of all the companies, we could see that the fact is we have the
требуется доказательства.
construction inflation more than it was planned. So they see the prices provided by the contractor. We also see it in all the malls and shops when we buy construction materials. For example, for 2022, we should also do the recounting,
Я
including 2021. I haven't seen
выполненных работ.
any contractors who went for recounting
Юридически это возможно.
or for the implemented job. We are working and operating with such contracts.
Выполненные работы
Of course, it would be difficult to compare the implemented job.
создают материал. Как
What was the physical price
себе представляют,
of purchase?
что подрядчику будет адресовать
I think that it's the only way how they would correct the previous information by the contractor. Of course, they would not give the signed price list. Thank you.
Еще, уважаемые коллеги,
Are there any questions, distinguished colleagues?
пожалуйста.
You're welcome.
Да, такой вопрос.
I have
Когда
a brief question. I'm representative of the first elevators company,
конкурс
and taking part in competitions, we think our responsibility for SRO,
это
also the
и вот
covering up the expenditures and also casualties. And when we have an increase in contract, we could go out of the limits. Should we
значительно
inform our SRO that we have a significant increase in the contract? So if we go further, we go bigger than our limit, would we have any sanctions for
сами заинтересованы, чтобы у вас
going
ответственность
over the limits?
контракт.
Of course, it should be the same as in the contract. It's not about the sanctions on behalf of SRO, just because, of course, they also have
Подрядчик получил
their own duties. And if the contractor
соответственно,
got a new contract and it's quite different from the previous one, why do you need it?
по
According to the clause about the illegal entrepreneurship, it still
ответственности и будет
operates on the territory of the Russian Federation. So all the implemented work
признан и теоретически
would be neglected
может потребовать вернуть. Ты не имел права.
after a while just because you had no right. Even if you did all the construction works, you had no ability to do it, legal ability. That's why I advise you to work on the
Стоимость всех
level of your responsibility on the sum of the contracts within this period.
свои уровни.
But within the fulfillment of this contract, we meet the points. It doesn't matter if you have now differences, just because you need to meet all the limitations within implementation of the contract.
С 1 сентября этого года
From the 1st of September, we have changes in the city construction code.
идет реестр
And right now we have a register of members of SRO and by the National Union of Constructors.
совокупно
There are additional information of some responsibilities. Here being as a self-regulated company, everyone who
ну, вообще по
has the ability to
вот этот как бы совокупный размер.
take part in
Следующий
civil bargaining.
закат
The next stage is previously the customers
единый федеральный реестр,
asked for the documents. Right now they could see the National Register of SRO
как бы
and understand whether this organization is legal and has the right to fulfill the works.
требования эти выписки уходят.
That's why
Размер
there is no need
там,
to get other documents right now.
это
That's why the information should be up to date. As for us being SRO,
все вот это как бы
we finish up the defining of this sum up
опасности
volume.
не видим
The only casualty we have right now, we cannot see all the contracts on
515
2, 2, 3,
на сегодняшний день.
6, 1, 5, and so on. Right now we could see. Then we define it, then we make calls to the members of SRO if they meet or doesn't meet,
Практика на
if they meet or doesn't or don't meet. So that's why we have already cancelled 6 or 5 companies because they didn't meet the limitations.
мы должны ежедневно
Because nowadays we need
просьба,
to do it at present, to do it
в принципе, да, практика
during lifetime. Right now the practice is different.
поддел
And a lot of companies
отвечает на запрос
create fake documents.
прокуратуры,
That's why we also make invoices to
проверить.
the authorities and state
Заказчик открыл
institutions.
реестр, посмотрел, да,
Right now you can open the unified register. If they have right, if they have level,
как бы не потребует эту выписку.
they could
Поэтому такая работа ведется.
ask
Просьба тоже как бы посмотреть и
the report from you after that.
информацию.
So please provide the information to your customer on time. Distinguished colleagues, do we have any other questions? I have a question, but in brief. You have touched upon the report cancellation out of the register. So that's why a lot of customers and contractors will have question which confirmation documents the customer should ask for and how the contractor should confirm the ability and
Ну, наверное, заказчик больше знает, наверное.
legal
Ну, форма реестра,
aspect of fulfillment of the job. Of course, we still have this report,
национальный строитель,
even on the line of the National Union of Construction. We also sign it,
подписан.
and they sign it.
Ну, кому, если
As a project manager, they
заказчик установит такое требование, проблем,
should not do this. But it's all about the customer.
ну, заказчик
Of course,
там, на сегодня
the customer could ask for any type of document he needs. Just because it should be signed, it should be
уважаемый коллеги,
written down in the in their contract.
я думаю,
So, distinguished colleagues, if you have no questions,
круглый стол
I find our
актуален.
round table
Ну,
quite
она была, конечно,
modern, up to date, and answering the main questions. So,
заказчик.
we're very glad what we have here, all the customers and the main customer, and everyone who can assist, and the current situation we have. So right now the
Конечно, они останутся
interrogations and also communication between a client and contractor
требования
is quite crucial. Of course, we have a lot of
Но, естественно, объект у нас
legal documents which we should pay attention to, which we should use.
это
But at the same time, we use all the social facilities we need, starting from the road,
строительство объекта,
going through the streets, seeing the construction of the new sites. So we need to have mutual understanding. Of course, we also had some claim to educate,
мы тоже
to provide the information to the customer. We also sent the letters to the state customers. Right now we have
по обучению
already worked out programs. So please get the information, get the education, because your knowledge as a customer is the main point, is the main factor that influence on the implementation
при нашем известии
and profitable work.
сказал, что там КС с МИНСТРОЙ письмо
So
присутствует. Вот здесь,
Yegor Rodin said that he could not
там тоже
be with us today just because he has his own duties. We had Artur Rafaelovich here, Nuria Muhamedovna.
конечно, они как бы все вот,
They all
тоже доведены
would provide the whole information to Yegor Rodin
до актуальным вопросам.
that we have discussed, a burning question for nowadays. Annually, we conduct roundtables, seminars and webinars on
Торгов у нас обычно проходит где-то
the bargaining,
там, количество участников,
mostly
ну,
in March.
там 300-400 человек.
We had 300, 400 attendance. As for pricing, while going to the resource and index method,
Вот,
we plan to attract
следите, будем, конечно, давать.
the representatives of construction sphere to our meetings. As for us as a self-regulated company, is to assist the construction companies to find the way to communicate with the customers on fulfillment the state and municipal orders and contracts.
Орган власти, конечно, надо совместно регулировать.
Of course, we should regulate the sphere
Хочу поблагодарить
altogether. I would like to thank our speakers for coming and for a good speech. Let's grant them with applause. So, dear colleagues, wish you good luck in your business and also health. Thank you for finding time to attend our roundtable. Please stay informed, stay in touch with us. Thank you.